All right.
Hello.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday.
Oh, cheers. Another
Cheers.
week.
Cheers to all of you folks out there, and cheers to you. Clink.
So, what are you all drinking today?
Well, today I've moved to the Lagunitas IPA, a very
nice.
tasty, delicious IPA.
I am drinking Luna Rising from Then Brewing, a local brewery in South Minneapolis. It is a stout with coffee, chocolate, and vanilla.
That sounds
Really good.
tasty.
Fancy pants.
That's good.
I'm drinking a gin and tonic, which is often my standby. I was going to do red wine, but I am, as you regular back catalog listening party attendees might notice, I'm in a different spot today, and I'm in our practice space in our house, and there's a beige carpet, and I thought red wine would be a recipe for disaster. Let's just say.
Yeah, but you know, honestly, if it is spilled, like, I want that practice room to look more like a regular practice space. So all sorts of spillage on the floor. Who knows what that is? That's fine.
So
Well,
we
let's
should
give our-
point out.
Yeah, let's give our listeners a little context here, folks. So everybody, welcome. This is the Back Catalog Listening Party. It's a weekly show where we dig into the archives of some of our favorite artists' albums. We talk about the songs and hear the stories. And we've made it to double digits, so we want to do an extra special show. And you have a quite an hour in store for you today. So just real quick, I'm Anthony Ihrig, and my co-host.
Mother Banjo.
And would you like to introduce our special guest?
Sure. Our special guest, as you can see, BCF, Ben Cook-Feltz. And he's special in my world because we're married. And so we're both broadcasting from the same house, different floors. And our 1-year-old baby is sleeping at the moment. And so we're going to see how this all goes. But that's why I've moved places so that I could rescue him if need be. So this will be an exciting episode. We don't know what will happen.
Anything can happen. Now, do you think we're going to have an appearance here? Do you think, what's the schedule been like?
I would imagine he's probably going to wake up any second now. So chances are good you might see baby Stan.
This is usually Stan's most active time. So.
And Ben knows this because he's usually watching Stan while I'm doing this.
Right.
Right.
It's kind of nice. Normally I can just hear like Ellen faintly in the distance laughing and talking. It's cool to hear
Enjoying
the
a beer
entire thing.
and
Enjoying a drink while I'm with the kid. It's great.
That's right. So I'm in the basement, and actually it's appropriate that I'm here near the drum kit because Ben, as you're going to find out, is not only a great songwriter, but he's a piano player and drummer. And we have Van Morrison scowling in the background behind me. So
Blow you up here so everybody can get a good look.
Yep.
Hey,
So
you see that? No,
that's right.
Yep, he's keeping a close eye. Drummers need that.
That's right. It's right.
Well, awesome. Well, you know, this show now that we've made it to 10 episodes, one thing is clear, and that is that we've covered a lot of different genres, and I think we're going to get into that conversation a little bit, maybe the problem with genres. But for those folks that don't know you and your work, can you just give a brief kind of bio, where you're coming from, and where this album we're going to talk about today fits into that timeline?
Sure. So I am originally from Cedar Falls, Iowa. I studied percussion and self-taught piano while I was growing up. I moved to Minnesota in 2004 to study record production, and loved Minneapolis, and I've stayed ever since. And songwriting is just something that I've always done, part and parcel with everything else in my life. And I've been performing out on a regular basis, I guess, for about 15 years. And She Doesn't Believe Me, that's the album that we're going to be talking about, is my fourth official release, as in the one that I actually like professionally recorded and put out and everything. And it was a very important record for me for a lot of different reasons. It was the first record that I made when I was in my early 30s, so it's kind of the first fully adult record I think I ever made. There's a lot of songs on the record that are about love and about loss and about kind of growing older and grappling with fate, I guess. But it's a really fun record too. So I mean, it was just a very a very special project for me, a very personal project for me, and I'm really excited to talk about some of the songs, do a deep dive.
Awesome. We are excited, and just wanted to give a couple shout outs. We got Cheryl out there. Hey, Cheryl, and Chris.
Cheryl.
And we have, looks like we have some,
Yay!
some family.
Hey, Bevan.
Family from Connecticut. And
Hey, Zach.
Oh, awesome.
It's so cool that you guys are here, and I encourage you guys to say hello in the comments. Ben wants to hear from you. We all want to know that there's other humans out there, and it means a lot to us when you guys get together
because
on the comments.
It's very true. I think sometimes when we're living online all the time, it's easy to be like, are there actually humans out there? I don't know. I haven't been outside today. I have no idea.
Well, and I mean, Ellen and I are in the same house, and we're still talking into our laptops. So, you know.
Actually, we try and keep the 6-foot distance whenever possible, you know.
Yep.
That's where we are now. Well, what do you say we just jump right in? These songs are a little more than those typical 3-minute tunes, and I want to make sure we get through them. And the first one we have queued up today is the Ballad of Karl Benjamin. Anything you want to say about that tune before we listen to it?
Sure. It is the most, at the time, I guess it was the most autobiographical song that I've ever written. Karl Benjamin, that's my first and middle name switched around.
Not the artist, not the American artist.
No, this is me. It's just a song about myself. And it came from a very really fun guitar riff that my guitar player Cole Mickelson came up with that you hear at the beginning and throughout. It has a lot of fantastic players, some people that I was amazed that I was able to actually get to join me on this thing. Jillian Ray is playing fiddle on it. Brent Fuqua is playing mandolin. There's some guy, I think his name is Anthony Ihrig, is playing banjo and a little dobro on this.
Yes, that was one of our first kind of interactions. And I appreciated that opportunity to be part of it.
Well, I'm glad that you were a part of it. So, and it also features 2 drummers. I'm playing drums on the first half of the song, and then Tyler Obinger is playing drums on the second half. So.
Awesome. Well, let's take a listen to it, and then we can chat more about where the song came from, and also any details about the recording. I'm really interested in diving into this. So here we are on the back catalog listening party with Ben Cook-Feltz, the Ballad of Karl Benjamin.
1, 2, 3, 4. I watch the Cedar River rising. It makes its way across the rails and paths. Each time it dares to break the levees mighty cold, but never makes it past. I never knew a sense of danger, only the feeling there was something more, something cliched but overwhelming, a chance to set the score, brave the mighty shore. Maybe I just wasn't good enough, maybe it wasn't meant to be. Try as I might to make things right, and stir the pot so I could see. I guess it wasn't meant to be. I've lived through 30 Midwest winters, but for a moment I was left with 5. That thought has no choice but to guide me and keep the faith alive. But faith is fickle in its fervor. Like love and flowers, it can disappear in a flash of cold reflection. The hunger turns to fear as the gambler perseveres. Maybe I just wasn't good enough, maybe it wasn't meant to be. Try as I might to make things right, and stir the pot so I could see. I guess it wasn't meant to be. river guide you. Make a break from all you've ever known. Cast away, leave the shore behind you. Let it go, let it go, let it go. Close your eyes, let the river guide you. Make a break from all you've ever known. Cast away, leave the shore behind you. Let it go, let it go, let it go.
Woohoo!
Oh yeah.
Yay.
That was the Ballad of Karl Benjamin. The first track from Ben Cook-Feltz's 2015 release, She Doesn't Believe Me. As you can see, Ben did not have a beard. Ben did not grow this beard, though, just in quarantine. I just want to point that out.
No. This has been years in the making.
It started with this album cover, and here it is now.
Yeah.
Yep, got the hat.
There we go. Nice. Wow, epic tune.
Thank you.
One of the things that stood out right away about the songs is just the compositions seem to have, rather than the typical verse chorus bridge chorus out structure, like more movements. Like there's it's almost like like you might have in a score for some theater or something.
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about that, your approach to writing and arranging in that way? I mean, I've noticed that as a theme in some of the tunes.
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, my original background is instrumental piano pieces. Like that's what I was first writing when I was growing up. So I've always tried to approach songwriting a little bit from that perspective. In this case, I mean, that song took me about 3 years to write. Like the reason that it sounds like there's a couple of different movements is because one was from like 2011 and then one was from 2014. Like I struggled for a really long time to come up with some sort of a suitable bridge, and it just was not happening. Nothing I did seemed right until, I mean, quite literally, I closed my eyes one time and I heard like the thing about close your eyes, let the river guide you. And then, so the song sort of guided itself, if that makes sense. And I definitely, my approach to songwriting is if a song has a lot of promise, but it's not necessarily going anywhere, that's not always a bad thing. Like give it some time and see where the song wants to go, because it will 9 times out of 10 be pretty rewarding if you just kind of let the process guide itself.
That you mentioned this was like your adulthood album. That sounds like a coming of age piece right there.
For sure.
Over the course of a couple of years. That's great. Yeah. Well, we got this this comment I wanted to throw up on the screen. It was here before we even started today from Dave. The Ballad of Carl Benjamin and the rest. I remember the CD release at the 331. We just come from Charlie Parr at Landmark Live, and things were in full swing by the time we got there. BCF mofo, smiley face.
Yeah.
I want to hear the story here.
With BCF mofos?
Well, just the CD release, it sounds like it was quite the event.
It was really, really fun. And I like to joke that Charlie Parr opened for me. It was a progressive release.
Just at a different venue.
Yeah, just at a different venue with, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times as many people. That was really fun. I've always I love doing shows with my full band. I try to just make them as much of an event as they can possibly be. We have a theme song, which Dave referenced with the BCF theme, where literally it's a punk song with the chords B, C, and F, and the band members shout out the chords as they're playing them.
Nice.
And what was cool about that release show is that it felt like, just because I had an album coming out and because it was the first time that I'd gotten even just a little bit of press, that it was like this thing that I'd been doing for a long time. It was finally a chance to kind of display it for way more people and just make it into a party. And it was really, really fun. That show, Jillian Ray opened for us, and then Doug Otto and the Getaways played as well.
Oh,
and
nice.
They all came up and jammed, and we just had a lot of guest people getting on stage, getting off stage. It was just a really fun party.
And I have to say, as someone who was there, and also might have sang on stage for that one, but I will say it was like a Corona nightmare. Like it was so packed with people. If you've been to a show at 331, when it's full, there's no space, there's no green room or backstage for instruments. So there's like, with that many players, there was like instruments taking up like a quarter of the room. And then the rest of the people were just like pressed up against them. And it was so much fun. It was and your parents who are watching today came up for that show.
They came up for it. We did the show, I remember, it was October 23rd, 2015. That was Weird Al Yankovic's birthday, so we sang a Weird Al song.
Nice.
Yeah, just had a good time.
I did want to mention that Penny, who's watching, she said during the song, loving the music, but got to run banjo lesson, which I think is maybe the best reason to have to leave the back catalog listening party.
That's the only good reason to leave. And that actually is a good segue, Penny. Oh, go ahead, Ben.
Oh, no, just to be sure, she means that she has a banjo lesson. She's not critiquing the banjo playing. I
don't know.
That's okay. It brings up a question I had written down after listening to that tune. Just reading your bio and knowing that you came from this more piano-centric kind of perspective. This tune is chock full of fiddles and dobros and banjos and mandolins.
Yeah.
Where does that influence come from for you? Is this Mother Banjo influence? Or is this something before
well,
that?
There's definitely some Mother Banjo in there. I credit my dad with that. He has a very eclectic taste in music, and it felt like when I hear that kind of music, I always think of Saturday or Sunday afternoons. My dad would always be working out in the garage, and he'd have KU and I playing, and 9 times out of 10 they'd be playing bluegrass or acoustic music of some sort. He's the one that when I was a very, very small child, he played me the John Hartford album Aeroplane.
Oh, yeah.
And that had a profound influence, not just like sonically, but as a songwriter and things. So that's really where it came from. This was the first song, really, maybe with one exception, that was a straight ahead country song that I've ever written.
Okay.
It's strange because I don't listen to a ton of country music, but as I've gotten older, I feel like my writing has naturally taken more of a country bent. You don't hear it on the rest of this album at all, but going forward, it's definitely there.
Hey, it'll get in under your skin. And speaking of those instruments, you'd sent over some cool photos from the recording session.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe you could just kind of talk about the players and what's going on here. This is all recording that last song? Yes,
this is all recording. Although this one photo is from about 8 months later. That's Jillian doing her fiddle part in the studio. And then there I am playing the drums. Like I said, I played drums on the first half. I'd really hoped, we did this at Essential Sessions in Roseville, and unfortunately we weren't able to live track it all at once. I'd had this grand idea that I was going to play drums for the first half, get up and run over to the piano, and then my other drummer was going to take over, but that didn't happen.
Would it
And
be
there's
this piano?
That piano, indeed.
With the
beautiful-
80s lighting.
Right,
That's
which
awesome.
totally befits a bluegrass song,
Well, as the folks will hear later, that's the perfect lighting for a couple of the tracks. But let's kind of go through these photos here.
Yeah,
What we got here.
that is Karl. He's a member of the Federales. He sings harmonies on the song. I was the original drummer for the Federales, and I loved singing harmonies with Ben and Karl, and really wanted him in on there. And there's Ben Miller, the guy on the left. He's playing acoustic guitar on the song. And Brent Fuqua, the guy with the tasty-looking burger, he's the mandolin
And the
player.
tasty mandolin licks.
Tasty mandolin lick, yes, exactly. And then there's Andy Schuster on bass and Cole Mickelson on guitar. They are longtime members of the BCF band. I've been playing with them for about 14 years now. Schuster's actually playing upright on the track, but this is probably just, the guide for whoever was actually recording their parts at the time. And there's Cole, again. I'm not quite sure what he's doing, but, he's looking great at it.
He's praying. He's praying
He's
that the parts will work.
Exactly. And then this is just kind of the album as it was being put together. I was playing my friend Vonnie's electric piano just as a guide, and there's Peter Remiger at the board. He's my longtime producer. We've made 4 albums together now.
Wow.
And
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it's so great to see the history there. And is that studio still up and running? Or?
It is. They've moved. I think they're closer to the state fairgrounds now, which brings up sad feelings today.
Oh yes.
But Essential Sessions is still going, and they're great.
Well, go ahead.
And if you just tuned into Back Catalog Listening Party, we're talking with Ben Cook-Feltz, that would be BCF, about his 2015 release, She Doesn't Believe Me. And every Friday I'm here on Back Catalog Listening Party. We talk with different artists about their older records, explore the songs, and talk about the stories behind them, which is what we've been doing. I do want to give a shout out to both Ben Galeros and Sarah Harishnik, some other fellow musicians, another drummer, Sarah, and a great guitar player, Ben, and songwriter. So,
Hi, Ben.
Thanks for watching. If you have comments or questions about the songs or questions for Ben or me or Tony, feel free to hit us up in the comments. But I think right now we're probably going to dig into the next song because we want to make sure we get to as many as we can.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to this one. This is a good Friday. This is a good way to kick off Friday right here.
Exactly. So, and if you haven't already, this is a musical happy hour. Grab a beverage, and because you're going to want to rock out a little bit for this one, I think.
Yeah. So the next one we have lined up is If You Want Me. Anything you want to say before we listen to this one, Ben?
I'll just say that this was a co-write with my buddy Brandon Henry, who leads the band Art Vandelay. And it's one of 2.6 songs that I'm playing drums on.
No wonder it is so funky, man. I love this one. All right, here we go.
Knock upon my bedroom wall if you want me. Go ahead and knock it down if you need me. If you want me. Oh, if you want me. Oh, they say desire is a sin. I know you're guilty, but girl, it ain't no petty crime the way you thrill me. The way you thrill me. Oh, the way you thrill me. Oh, so much conversation just to show you how I care. Mental stimulation fuels this innocent affair. But just a glance is guaranteed to throw me off my game if you dare. Beware. Take a number, place a call if you want me. Love forever after all because you need me. Because you need me. Oh, because you need me. Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, shoot.
Oh, you.
Yeah. That's even better.
Oh, that was better. It made us really wait for it. That was
Dramatic
great.
pause. Yeah, sorry about that. I
Even
jumped the
better,
gun. I forgot about that tasty little ending there.
Yeah.
Oh, that was amazing.
That ending, I got to give credit. One of the reasons that I really enjoyed making this record was I'd spent so much time trying to sort of cultivate this BCF persona of like, tasteful and tuneful, but also fun and not afraid to get a little bit weird. And by the time of this record, there were people that were actively contributing to that whole idea. And in that instance, that was my bass player, Andy Schuster, who was like, we got to maybe wait like 5 seconds and then do.
Oh yeah,
So, yeah.
Ted says dance remix. I love
Yeah.
it.
Remix.
I love that, and that playfulness is, you can hear that on the album, both in the arrangements and in the lyrics, and it just seems to be part of your persona, like outside of the BCF piece, right?
It's basically Ben, is what we're saying.
A little bit of that Weird Al influence, and John
Sure.
Hartford, who also
sure.
had that streak, and yeah, that's awesome. One thing that really strikes me about your performances and your singing is just how it really sounds like you. Like there's a lot in like so many other genres. There's just always a little affect. You can tell someone's playing a character here or there. But
Oh, sure.
particularly in your vocals, like it is so just you. It's
Thank
like
you.
there's almost a vulnerability to it. When I hear it, I'm like, that's this person, and I can really feel that. And I
Wow.
it's so rare to hear someone's voice really come through, and I'm just curious about where that came from for you, the singing piece, and how you found your own voice.
Oh boy, I'm not entirely sure. I do know that my absolute favorite singer-songwriter is Paul Simon. I more or less idolize him musically, not personally, but musically. And he definitely has that kind of sing-songy way of, especially in his like early solo albums, where he, it's half singing, half sort of just vocalizing a little bit. I'm pretty sure that that's where it came from.
Okay.
Otherwise, I don't know if there's anything specific. I just sort of grew into that. I mean, like, again, I guess it's just the idea that really music is just an extension of who I am. And when I'm performing, it's an extension of who I am. And that just sort of bleeds into everything I do. Like it just naturally happens. Like I'm not really trying that hard at it. So I'm glad you appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great to just to hear the musician behind the song singing.
you.
So it's great. All
Yeah,
right.
and I have to say, during that song, we were all grooving. I think that was the most air dancing we've done yet on the show, Tony.
Yeah.
I think. But I have to say that at that very moment, Stan, you probably can't see it, but he's awake, and he was all like excited. He can't hear the music. Obviously, we're listening on headphones, but I like to think that he was channeling that spirit, because all of a sudden he was super active during that song.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta ask, as far as like composition wise, sometimes it sounds like the songs are coming out of your keyboard, and sometimes it sounds like the songs are coming out of your drums. And I didn't hear a ton of keyboards on this.
No.
Do these songs always start on one instrument? Do you get a groove in mind first, or lyrics in mind first? What's your process here with this?
Definitely. I mean, 96% of the time at this point, I'm writing the music first. A lot of the songs, actually, it's not even that they come from a keyboard. They just come in my head when I'm driving, or if I'm in the shower or something like that. That particular song was a shower song. I don't know why, but it was. And really, I don't know, like in that instance, it did not feel like a piano song to me at all. Like I had been working with Cole for several years at that point, and it just felt like a song that was supposed to be driven by a super funky guitar part. Yeah.
I do. Oh yeah, I did want to mention though that when you play this song live now, you do play like an electric keyboard on the song,
Yeah.
like as a pad, but it just
Yeah.
has like a '70s funk vibe.
I give it sort of a Richard T. piano vibe for sure.
Yeah, but it's cool because I've always liked this stripped down version on the recording a lot.
Yeah.
Right. It's just go ahead.
Oh, when I wrote this song, I was fronting a band called the Glorious Percussion Armada. where I did not play keys. I played djembe, and we had a conga player, and we had a doumbek player, and then an auxiliary percussionist, and then Cole would play guitar. So this song definitely also came from that experience of like coming up with something. Every single time I would play it prior to the release, I was always playing a hand drum or something like that. Like it just felt right.
Yeah, well, you can definitely feel the groove there. Awesome. Well, the next tune that we have lined up is a song called Runaround. Yeah. And I remember, is this the one with the really cool cartoon video?
Yes, by Corby Ortman.
Yeah, this song sticks in my head not only because of the tune, but also because of that video. And I was just curious of where that came from, that animation.
Well, that idea was definitely Corby's. I mean, I wanted to do a music video. I wanted to do an animated music video, and I'd worked with Corby on a couple of other things. He's done flyers for me in the past. I put out an album called Ben Cook-Feltz and You, and he did the album cover for that. And so he was definitely interested in doing something. He wanted to kind of dive into animation, and it was his idea because he heard that lyric, if I didn't play these keys, they'd get up and follow me. So he just came up with this idea that I am obliviously walking through the city, and there is this upright piano that is just following me everywhere I go, and chaos and madness ensues. Yep, there I am.
I don't know if this is going to work. I'm trying to play a video.
Oh yeah,
but
there you go.
I wanted people to see this because I think it's so cool.
Yeah.
And there's no audio, so we're going to get to hear it.
It's okay. Oh, but there it is.
Piano, yep. I mean, at one point it ends up getting hit by an oncoming train, and but it will not stop until it's right in front of me, and then I sit down.
I love it. I just wanted people to see that because I think I don't know. Now it's tied forever to this song.
And we'll definitely share a link to that video too later, so you can all see it. Yeah, it's
Please
great.
do.
And Corby Ortman just actually moved to St. Paul today.
Yeah.
He's now back in town. So welcome home, Corby. We're happy to have you.
Yes, we will all hang out once we can.
Yeah.
Can't come too soon. All right, well, let's give this a listen.
Cool.
This is Ben Cook-Feltz on the Back Catalog Listening Party Runaround.
Nothing but a random set of keys. Lay them out in any way you please. Sit in the sun. Airport bar or city square. Heaven knows you're bound to find me there when it's done. I have tried just walking by, but I could never be another guy. Don't you know, I know where I belong. If I didn't play these keys, they'd get up and follow me, and let the song run around. Oh, my mind and heart, they both play a different part, and my fingers and my feet, they follow along. Oh, looking at the world in shades of gray, as faded markers pass the time away. No surprise, my life runs in black and white, dark of base and sparkling high before my eyes. I don't know who drives this train, it's always running through my brain, but it knows just where I belong. If I didn't play these keys, they'd get up and follow me, and let the song run around. Run around. Oh, my mind and heart, they both play a different and my feet, they follow along. Music deep inside. There's a beat that keeps me going on. If I didn't play these keys, they'd get up and follow me and let the song run around, run around. I'll be playing as the song goes on and on. Oh, on and on. Oh, on and on. On and on.
Oh, right. Run Around from Ben Cook-Feltz's 2015 release, She Doesn't Believe Me. We're listening to it today on Back Catalog Listening Party and providing your musical happy hour. It's Friday, if you lost track, and it's now 4:39 Central Time. So for us, it's time for a drink and to enjoy some music together. Big thanks to everyone for tuning in and sharing comments. If you have questions for Ben about the songs, thank you, Annie. She says that was awesome. Yeah, a lot of musicians tuned in today, which is so cool. So thank you all for tuning in.
Fantastic.
And that song, I have to say, there are a lot of, one of the things I love about all your records and something you think a lot about is not just the instrumental arrangements, but the vocal arrangements are so, and I know this because I'm privy to some of your process where you're like, I think I want to have someone sing this one little bit and I'm going to have another singer sing, that you think of it in a very, choral way, and that it's not just about like bringing in one singer to sing a part. You really think about what voice would sound great for which parts.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I love to bring in, this is the first record where I brought in outside vocalists. Every other album before this, I kind of Elliott Smithed it and tried to do it myself. But there's something so great about, well, just having other tones and other voices on your own record. I mean, I think it adds a lot. And yeah, if I'm going to have someone, do a guest appearance on the record, I want it to spotlight what they do the best. Like, I want it to be like, this is very clearly something that, in this instance, Karl was meant to be doing. Like, other people could sing it, but he sings it perfectly.
Yeah, he's the one singing on the verses, right?
He's singing on the verses. And then Mother Banjo.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually had to look back. I was like, I think I sing on this one, and I actually looked at the liner notes because I remember singing on this record, but it was long enough ago that I was like, I think that is me. I had to look though to make sure. I knew it was ingrained in me because I was singing it along with it.
Yeah, that's you.
Well, kind of along those lines of just attention to detail. Like when I was like, for folks at home, I'm going to digress for just a second. You might have seen that we put this little tip jar thing out there. if you feel it in your heart, Ben's a working musician, and why don't you throw a little change in that tip jar, get Stanley some diapers, and but I wanted to say you might also want to go out and get this record, because I know Facebook tends to kind of crush the audio and turn it into a mono stream. I say this every week because so much of my enjoyment of these kinds of albums is listening to production and production value and arrangement ideas. And I'm sitting here and I'm hearing one instrument start on this side and then going to the other. Really creative use of space in your arrangements. It reminds me of like a Steely Dan album or something like that. Is that a big part of is that you sitting there in the studio working with the engineer or whoever, or with the other musicians and arranging those things? It seems very, thought out.
Yeah, it's definitely, well, in this instance, it was very much a combination of myself and Peter Remiger, my co-producer, co-engineer. I definitely come into the sessions with a pretty strong idea of how I want things, to play out, and I'm definitely thinking about arrangements a lot. Like in this particular song, I knew that I wanted it to start with just the piano, and I loved the idea of the drums coming in before anything else, because it just creates this kind of like, I love the sound of it, the fact that there's like something slightly missing, but it still sounds cool. And then the bass comes in, like it just, everything has its due as it comes in. And then, so I start from that point, but then Peter's strength is hearing my ideas and not only being able to articulate them, but also complement them. So once we're finished recording, while he's mixing, if he heard, like on this record, on this song rather, on the chorus, he could tell that there was something slightly missing during the choruses, so he threw in just a very like light acoustic guitar part in the background and stuff like that. So between the two of us, we end up creating something that sounds, I think, pretty good and pretty whole.
Yeah, I just was really impressed. And I want to just talk for a minute about an electric guitar solo in 2015. That was awesome. Is that Cole?
That's Cole.
Man,
that is Cole.
He's got some chops. And the tone is so good. And I mean, and there was these little electric guitar, instrumental pieces in there too. Was that him, or was that?
Oh yeah, that's Cole. The bow bow bow. Yeah, that's all Cole. Yep.
That was great.
Yeah. Cole has amazing instincts.
Well, Ann is asking about the tip jar, and yes, Ann, we do. I'm going to put it here. You can just go to paypal.me/BCFMOFO. And now I do have to ask, now that I had to say that out loud, and I know that my mom is watching.
Our parents are too, so.
Ben, I'd love to know the history of that BCF mofo.
Well, that's tied into the to the BCF theme song. So I'm going to censor myself right now because who knows who's watching. But just picture the elongated word that mofo shortens. In this case, I'll say waka waka. But because my bass player Schuster has two small children, and they legitimately love the BCF theme, and they're convinced that I'm saying waka waka. So when we open and close our full band shows, when the band is playing the chords B, C, and F, they scream B, C, F, and on top of that, I'm like waka waka. So yeah,
that's really what he's saying, Mom. No, I absolutely. We talked about it earlier. Just the humor and the kind of fun. There's just some lightness to all of this, and it not only that, but it kind of infuses so many different genres. Something we were talking about before the call started is this kind of problem a lot of musicians who have varied tastes get, where someone sits down and say, well, what kind of music do you play? And we've heard country, and we've heard disco, and we've heard rock and roll. As a musician and as a performer, how do you try to kind of sell yourself in that way? Because I think that's probably the biggest challenge for musicians that have such eclectic tastes.
Oh yeah, and it's always hard to break it down into because really when people are asking that, they want like a 4 or 5 word answer. They don't
Right.
want, well, you know, there's a little bit of this and I don't know, and all that kind of stuff. The best distillation I've come up with is it sounds like a cross between Paul Simon and Weird Al Yankovic. Between those two, people know pretty much what they're getting into, I guess.
There's a lot of space in between those two for all of it. Yeah.
But I mean, I personally, I love bands that are versatile, that have a lot of different genres. I mean, like, I grew up just adoring the Beatles and Revolver and Abbey Road and Sgt. Pepper. I mean, they all have such, you know, wide variety of styles from song to song. And my favorite band of all time is Ween, and you can't pinpoint those guys at all.
No.
That's just, I don't know, for me, that's just, I like that kind of stuff. Like, if it's, no disrespecting anybody, but I can get bored pretty easily if it just ends up sort of sounding the same from song to song. And that's just, you know, so the songs that I write reflect the songs that I like to listen to.
Right on. Well, folks, you're listening to the Back Catalog Listening Party. We're with Ben Cook-Feltz. Waka waka! And we are listening to his 2015 release. We have a She Doesn't Believe Me, and we have another song lined up. And speaking of kind of switching genres here, we're gonna move into kind of maybe the more kind of ballad-esque side of Ben. Can you talk a little bit about this song? This will only last 2 years.
Yeah, sure. Well, this one's a little bit embarrassing, but it's I can talk about it now because it was 10 years ago. So the genesis of this song was my longtime guitarist Cole joining a different band, which is something that we all do. I mean, everyone plays in 1,000 different groups, but prior to that, there had just been a couple of years where I'd sort of been relying on Cole always being around, and that honestly affected the way that I was playing the piano. It was like, well, I don't have to play super well because Cole's here, and Cole's amazing, and he's going to do great, you know? So when he joined this other band that was very actively gigging and performing, suddenly I was like, oh, I'm going to have to maybe do some shows by myself. What am I going to do? And so on the one hand, it made me kind of up my game and try to become a better piano player, and I think that's been very rewarding in the long run. But it also led to this particular song. I just sort of like channeled a sense of loss, but I turned it into something that's, you know, if you listen to it, hopefully you're not going to think, oh, this is about a guy whose guitar player has joined another band. That sounds kind of stupid.
Well, I would have thought a relationship, but I think maybe for the non-musicians out there who don't understand, like, your band, it's like being married to however many people are in the band.
Right.
And in this case, you know, you have a special case here, but
well, yeah, in Ellen and my case, yeah. But I mean, you know, like Cole and Schuster and Jim, who's been my drummer for 5 years now. I mean, they're like brothers to me. So, you know, that relationship's very important.
All right. Well, let's take a listen to This Will Only Last 2 Years.
Something inside has gone away, and you know it. Something inside has gone away, and you know it. Sing another song. Choose the words and play along, and pretend you're not alone. Something inside has gone astray, and you know it. Try as you might, you can't escape the moment you lost it. Turn your face away. Tell yourself it's all the same, but you know this time you're on your own. It's gone no more. Sometimes I swear I'm a junkie for this feeling of loneliness and resonance that hovers in the air. A beautiful despair. The words make sense, but I don't really care. Na 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 na. Turn your face away. Tell yourself it's all the same. But you know, this time you're on your own. It's gone no more.
I love the string part on that. It's so great.
Yeah.
That's Ben Cook-Feltz. This will only last 2 years from his 2015 release. She Doesn't Believe Me. And yes, now there's another person joining us on the
Hey,
Back Catalog
buddy.
listening party. Up from his nap. It's
Making
baby
his very
Stan.
first appearance on the show.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's never been in this room because it's the adult only, practice space.
That's why he's got that smile on his face.
Yeah, he's
I
like,
see
ooh,
that.
there's all this stuff to look
Ooh,
at.
things I can hit.
I know. Anyway, I do love that string arrangement. I don't know if you want to say anything about who's playing on that, but it's beautiful.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so that was it's funny. So the string arrangement was done by Peter. Originally, it was just going to be piano and vocal, and then after we sat with the track for a while, I thought a string quartet might sound really good, and Peter did a great job with that. The players. So originally, I had reached out to a string quartet led by Rachel Sarto, and they were going to come in and do the part, and then, I mean, just a couple of days before the session, everything sort of fell apart, so I put something together really quickly. So Chris Becknell, who is playing violin, Emily Langerak is also playing violin, Sam Bergman is on viola, and Olivia was Han at the time, now Dirks from the OK Factor is playing cello.
Nice.
So yeah, and that's them.
Wonderful arrangement, too.
Yeah. Thank you.
And
I mean,
I think
that's mostly Peter for the arrangement. Anyway.
But like any good art, you mentioned this was about, a relationship you had in a band. But when I first listened to it, I just assumed it was, some sort of other type of romantic relationship.
Oh.
And I think that's the cool thing about stuff like this is that those feelings are universal. And yeah, it was really a beautiful tune.
For sure, but I also was, I realized no one really cares about me writing a song about my guitar player joining another band. I mean, and it wasn't like he wasn't playing; he's still playing with me. So I mean, yeah.
Happy
I
ending.
had to do something happy. Exactly. It lasted more than 2 years. It's lasted another 5.
Good stuff. Thank you all so much for joining us today on Back Catalog Listening Party. Ben Cook-Feltz, BCF, has been our guest. Stan making a special guest appearance, and now you know why he doesn't normally join me, because he just wants to touch the mic the whole time.
Yeah, this is like the special room. It's off limits. This is
Yeah,
this is going to be his goal now for the rest of his toddler years. Is going to be
I know, right?
That room.
I will get in there.
Yep. Oh,
Well,
man.
It looks like we have time to squeeze in one more track. Do you guys have do you got the time to do that, Ben? I'd love to hear
I
another one off.
absolutely do.
Awesome. All right. Well, it looks like the last track that we have queued up today is called "Wedding Bells and Vinyl Shelves." I love that title. That sounds like a country song right there. Can you talk a little bit about this song and where it comes from?
Sure thing. So when we started recording this album, I was about just over 2 months away from marrying Ellen. So that was very present on my brain throughout the entire process, kind of starting this new chapter of our lives, something that we had no idea exactly what it would entail, but that we were really excited about. So that was kind of the genesis of the song. The song, I mentioned in a lyric about love songs in my sleep. The song really did come to me in my sleep. I had this dream that I was attending one of Mark Mallman's, he does like 36 hours or whatever at the church
those
club.
like marathon sessions.
The marathons, yeah. So I had this dream that I was watching Mallman performing this song, and in the dream I remember going, "Oh, this is pretty cool." And then I woke up and I was like, "Oh,
Cool.
This isn't his. This is in my head." So,
Nice.
That begat this song.
That's awesome. Well, let's give it a listen. It's a great way. Now, you mentioned there was a drummer on here. We had one more picture lined up here.
Yeah.
That we wanted to show here. Who's playing the skins on this one?
This is Tyler Obinger. I have to give a shout out to Tyler. Tyler was the drummer in the BCF band from about 2008 until just around the time that we recorded this in 2014. Really great guy, wonderful drummer. I miss this guy dearly. He moved on the subject of adulting. He moved on to a very prosperous career working in garage door installation, and I love the guy, and his work on this album and on this song especially is just stellar.
That and it says something when a drummer hires another drummer. you know that he's good. So that's great. Well, we're going to close out the show today, the Back Catalog Listening Party from Ben Cook-Feltz. She Doesn't Believe Me. This is Wedding Bells and Vinyl Shelves.
Love so appealing, love so appealing, it doesn't go away. And the harder I fall, the deeper the meaning, the deeper the meaning, the less I ever have to say. Wedding bells and vinyl shelves and love songs in my sleep. Darling, you're the constant force that grounds me. Turbulence, resistance to a life that I don't understand. But hidden in your hand, the love that found me, found me. When the music plays, the sound overwhelms me. It just overwhelms me and sends me soaring through time to a room in the past with rust on the ceiling, rust on the ceiling, and bittersweet love songs to cool my mind. Hold it in your head too long, the love song contradicts the future as it drowns you. Add one to the list of all the loves I never dared to prove. Put the needle in the groove, the world spins round and around. I simply believe in love so appealing, love so appealing, it couldn't go away. And the older the song, the deeper the meaning, the deeper the meaning.
Yeah, Ben Cook-Feltz, Wedding Bells and Vinyl Shelves, the final track to the record, She Doesn't Believe Me.
So good.
So good.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ben, for doing this.
Thank you guys. This has been a lot of fun.
This has been
really, really special.
A ton of fun, and it's been great to kind of get a glimpse to what in the the Bellin House. Is that the proper term?
Bellin House. Yep.
I've heard that expression, and you can see it in all its glory here today, folks.
Yeah, it is. It makes me really grateful that I have Ben in my life to play music with and to watch Stan while I make music and get to host this show every Friday. So
right. So every week when you see Ellen there with a cocktail and
now you know why.
Listening to music, Ben's back there.
Yeah.
Doing this. Yeah, Chris Jetner mentioned he wished the show was an hour and a half because the show goes too fast, and I'd say today's really went way too fast. There were so many other questions that I think that we both had, and well, at least I had. I'm sure Ellen's probably asked all of the questions by now, but it's just been a thrill to have you
by
here.
By now, Ellen just asks why.
I know you well enough not to ask why,
yeah.
but I will say that I loved revisiting this record because I remember when it came out, I really felt like I got to know Ben before we started dating as just a musician. I was, a fan of his music, and I felt like this album for the first time really captured the range of what he could do live that I'd heard him do. And I thought it was such a cool record, and was so proud of it when it came out. And I'm so glad we're getting to revisit it. And I'm hoping if folks like it, they can buy some and relieve some of our closet space. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
right.
You can't see from here, but there are boxes directly to my left of She Doesn't Believe Me.
Speaking of the live show, I've watched a lot of live streams, and yours are some of the more entertaining ones that I've seen. And
thank you.
The keyboard in particular just has this. It has such a breadth of sounds and rhythms and all of those things. And I highly recommend anybody out there watching to go find Ben on Facebook or any other social network. Would you like to plug a specific place?
Yes. Well, this Wednesday, I have a Facebook page, facebook.com/BCFtunes. Mm-hmm. And this Wednesday, I'm going to be doing a live stream in conjunction with Reader Homestead. They've been doing a series of shows benefiting St. Stephen's. They run homeless shelters in the Twin Cities. It's a fundraiser for that organization. So this Wednesday, I'll be playing. I believe it starts at 7 o'clock. Annie Fitzgerald's also playing. Vicki Emerson is playing. We're each going to be doing half-hour sets, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So,
nice, yeah. You don't want to miss it, folks. If you liked what you heard on this album, definitely follow Ben on all the social networks so you can see his live streams because they're super fun. And when this whole quarantine thing is over, the real magic happens when you get to see him and his band play live. I got to see your last album release at the Ice House, and was just blown away by the musicianship. And this, just overall, how much fun it was. That's exactly what live music's all about, and I can't wait till we get to do it again.
We want to have a good time.
I should also put a plug in. We didn't get a chance to listen to it, and it's on a different record, but Ben does a great cover of a Tony Ihrig song that he often plays because it's one of his more requested songs at his live stream shows. So you might get to hear it, maybe. I don't know.
That's very cool.
It's such a good song. Red Lights on the Radio Tower, everybody. If you don't know it, check it out. It's so good.
Thanks, Ben. And this has been just an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for doing this and for letting the whole family join in. And
family happy hour.
Everybody hanging out there. Thank you so much for being here, for commenting. All of that just keeps us going. We've reached double digits, and hopefully we'll reach triple digits. And this has been just the highlight of my quarantine is seeing performers like Ben Cook-Feltz. Thanks so much, Ben.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And everybody else, have a great long weekend.
Yes. Can't you tell? It's a long weekend.
Yeah. We're done. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Until next week.